This is going to be much more of a general thoughts video than my Undertale one, seeing as the game isn't even close to being complete, like 7 chapters, what the hell? So I'm just going to call these impressions for now. I overall really liked it, and it actually fixes most of the minor problems I had with Undertale. Getting into battles again after dying is much quicker than before. I love that the cutscenes are even simplified to the point of there not being any dialogue on repeat attempts. This game, though not overtly apparent of its exact relation to Undertale outside of some of its characters and themes, is regardless a pretty great follow-up. I love that the game continues to push its gameplay to new places and is continuing to be used to convey things about characters and ideas, which was one of my favorite parts of the previous game. It's one of few turn-based RPGs where you're constantly engaged no matter which side of the battle you're on. One thing to mention though is that this game does feel quite easier than Undertale. Now, I don't know if I was just lucky or something, but across my playthrough I only died once. But honestly, it was kinda nice, because I still felt engaged and challenged the entire time playing, and the lessened instances of being sent back kept the pacing from getting slowed down. I do, however, wish some moments were less talky. Now, I know, the dialogue is a huge appeal of this series and Toby Fox's style. It just felt sometimes like when one cutscene ended, I had hardly moved before the next one began. Now, luckily, the dialogue is enjoyable enough that these moments aren't awful or anything, it's just that I enjoyed the gameplay so much that I just wanted to get back into it as soon as possible. While on the topic of dialogue, I do honestly prefer Undertale's simpler narrative to Deltarune, though that's not a critique of this game. The game evidently has a much larger story to tell, and from the looks of it, it's only going to continue to grow, and the amount of dialogue is likewise proportionally increased. Now, this is very much a personal thing, but I still just don't really care for these games' sense of humor. Don't get me wrong, there were some moments that made me laugh out loud, but certain characters' shticks just didn't do it for me, and while not annoying, did get a bit boring throughout. I find moments that are likely intended to be funny as cute. Not a complaint, it's just not for me, and I recognize that, but I personally find Toby to be a much more proficient crafter of the more sentimental moments, especially as he's very talented on an aural and visual level as well. This game in some respects exceeds even further with its advantages of the simpler style than even Undertale did, and results in plenty of beautiful visual moments. I also enjoy the more complex visual moments too. I really like the graphical overhaul given to battles, and it feels much more like characters in battle rather than an enemy versus a player, which isn't even a complaint I had with the previous game. And it's a little thing, but I adore these borders, they're a nice touch and give a great sense of polish. The music is also once again fantastic too. Cyber City's theme is great, and it's impressive Fox can write music that plays for such a large portion of the game and it not get annoying. Seriously, I enjoyed this song every second it was playing, and the music overall is probably my favorite part of the game as of now. I like most of the characters well enough, though I probably find Susie to be the most compelling, and the character designs are all fun, especially those of the students. I appreciate that despite this game's broadened scope from the previous one, that it still keeps its scenes relatively simple, focusing on only a couple to a few characters at a time. Some of the characters, however, I found to be sort of one note, and the deeper moments for them sort of predictable. But not to any extent I'd want them removed from the story or anything like that, maybe just reeled back a bit. Again, I'd like to reiterate, I at least liked all of the original characters. I also appreciate the restraint in keeping characters from Undertale's roles mostly to background characters, letting the new ones be the focus of the story. It's a nice introduction to them for newcomers to Fox's games, and the way they're included almost feels Twin Peaks-esque, which I love. It's like the idea is that this is an alternate universe from Undertale, hence why the titles for each games are anagrams for each other, which anagrams are a thing that the game plays on throughout. There is one character, however, that clearly, undeniably, unquestionably is the best of them all. Queen! I don't know why, but even in spite of my distaste for a lot of the humor, Queen consistently made me laugh, and every second she's in a scene is the best part of the game. She's my absolute favorite character, and her design is awesome. And damn, that Punch-Out reference is great, and it's a nice way to both reincorporate something from earlier while bringing some welcome variance to the gameplay style. If you haven't noticed, I definitely have a preference for Chapter 2, as I think many do. It's a lot more fun gameplay-wise, there's a lot of great character moments, it definitely takes the cake between the two current chapters. But to be fair, Chapter 1 is somewhat of a condensed Undertale to help set up a lot of other things for newcomers to the world. I did really enjoy Chapter 1's setup menus though. It's funny and communicates themes in a clever way. Conversely to some story elements though, I do prefer Deltarune's world to Undertale's. It just feels a lot more realized, I think. I do also think Deltarune's story does have a lot going for it as well, and I really appreciate its literate influences, as its world clearly takes a lot from Tolkien, Lewis, and some Carroll as well. Undertale's is great, I just think Deltarune's has a lot more complexity conceptually throughout its duration, while Undertale's is more focused on it in specific moments. And there's nothing wrong with that, they're just different narratives that demand different attention to things like that at different times. I'm really interested in seeing where this game goes, and will be happy to pay for it once it goes to that format. And even though I have some problems with the writing, I'm still invested to the point where I want to know what happens next, and it's great to see progress on the next installment seems to be going smoothly, and they're hinting at elaborating the gameplay even further. And yes, I did also enjoy the little nods to the Mother series, and I'm glad Toby's happy to acknowledge its influence on his own games without it taking away from his own vision. Chapters 1 and 2 are free everywhere right now, so if you liked Undertale, I could easily recommend this. It's pretty short as of now, and is worth the time investment. Well, that's all for now. But I feel like I'm forgetting something.